Oh, okay. So, hey, I'm mending sleeping bags. I think I should. Okay. So, this is what I've done. I need to just get And he's great. Thank you, Alba, for these wonderful shears. Ooh, see, here's two more spots. So, I'm finding it somewhat amusing that Ozark Iraq calls me predatory. I wonder if Aaron Carlson is all down for that. Somebody I talked to, who will go unnamed, said, "Well, she picked that boat and she's sailing that boat down the river." And one way I look at it is sort of like recruiting new victims. I used to think Erin recruited the victims of Ozark to just like prevent herself from being abused, like she was kind of using us like human shields. But now I kind of feel like there's no excuse to let him be this abusive. Other than I could imagine she's very abused by him herself. But anyway, Friday, is it Friday morning? I found out that my March 9th recording of Ozark chewing out the domestic violence agency advocate about me that she put on speakerphone and I started recording because it was crazy and it was proof that he's discriminating. Um, wants me prosecuted for recording him saying, "I'm lucky he didn't prosecute me for doing the clothing drive." Like I tried to raise clothing for the day shelter, the night shelter, or the people kicked out from the day shelter and or the night shelter. So that's three classes of people. Some people are allowed in the night shelter. Some people are allowed in the day shelter because everybody's 86 trigger happy to kick people out. And I'm like, what about all the people that are kicked out of one or the other? So this is like rewind to over 1 year ago. I was really, really too sick to leave the house. And I was like, well, how can I help? How can I volunteer? How can I do something nice? I'm going to try to get some clothing flowing. And Ozark's like, she's raising donations on our behalf. I wasn't raising donations on his behalf. I've been supporting Filling Bellies since 2015, back when Ozark was doing like being a meth dealer and everything. And donated tons of stuff. Got tons of resources for them. But free bananas, free bottles of water. But being a vegan, they don't usually have great vegan food. What I have right here is pretty great vegan food. It's this is basmati rice, sriracha, timut pepper, which is not a real peppercorn. It's some fancy Himalayan spicy, similar to a pepper type thing. And then it's got old wood smoked pepper, Beyond Beef sausage, nutritional yeast, cayenne pepper. So good. And rosemary and coconut oil. And I'm trying to like eat and sew at the same time. And I was like, do I want to eat more or do I want to sew more? And I was like, I'll just do it. So Officer Hansen, who like is supposed to be the homeless liaison, and he's on the board of CCA. So CCA gives me the voucher. I go to the harbor. They advocate to me. What I'm imagining is since Ozark has too much of like a big ego to give me a clothing voucher, I'm imagining we can like do it like a spy swap where the advocate from the harbor is standing on the corner and Monica goes and picks me out some clothes that I probably will hate, drops them in a bag on the corner because I was hoping Lifeboat would be too embarrassed to discriminate against me if they have to realize they're like hurting harbor clients or CCA clients and everybody's aware of it. So I was hoping for a positive resolution that Ozark had buried the hatchet. And today I realized, no, he didn't bury the hatchet. He came back with a bigger hatchet, which is this inflammatory, like, she's lucky we didn't press charges against me for trying to get clothing on the backs of my friends with hypothermia. So people that Ozark denies clothing, they will die because they get hypothermia. If I try to get clothing on their backs, that's not getting donations on his behalf. So basically, as a burglar and career thief and whatever he was, he's preventing low income and poor and homeless people from having the resources which he is withholding from them, such as me. He's preventing me, a poor person, from having clothing and food. He's preventing other people from having clothing and food. And so to say he's going to try to have, she's lucky we didn't press charges, like the DA wants to prosecute people for good faith charitable activities, for like trying to raise clothing for a food drive or like a clothing drive. And like Aaron Carlson was like, I knew you're not like that, because I was like, what's up with Ozark? And it was clear he was just power tripping in the most abusive way. So, but what's really twisted is that he's not even self-aware enough to know that going on a tirade against me to the domestic violence agency, calling me predatory to the domestic violence agency, just makes him look like a psycho dude. And he really is. He's a psycho dude that's abusive. That I can't even get him to treat the domestic violence agency properly, or like realize the gravity of what he's getting himself into. So I made the recording. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I was just like, can I believe my ears? Is this really happening? And it was just horrifying to know he goes around town trash talking people like Gigi and me and Clarence, trying to put like negative blemishes and ruin our career opportunities and tell lies about us to like Kirk Wintermute and whomever. And like, Kirk Wintermute, yo, dude, you're being played. So this person I talked to yesterday, who I won't name, is just like, no, this county's not going to stop him. They're not interested. You know, they're like sort of content that he's kind of cordoned off that dirty work that nobody wants to do of helping the homeless. The fact that he's mean and unfair about it, nobody cares. And I'm not going to have any luck with them. But I think the bully case is interesting. I think my Bureau of Labor civil rights disability discrimination case is interesting. He wants to press charges on me. He's getting like serious about like looking for some reason to press charges on me in direct retaliation for me reporting him to a civil rights investigator. He doesn't understand how retaliation works. I don't know if this is going to be the thing that gets through to him. And I don't know how corrupt Clatsop County is. I don't know if they're going to play ball with it. But if so, my friend yesterday was like, well, the county's not going to want to prosecute this, because then it's going to expose how corrupt the harbor is, and how corrupt CCA is, and how corrupt Lifeboat is, and how they're all working together to be corrupt. Not to mention maybe police or county administrators. So it actually would be a nightmare for them to prosecute a person in good faith going to the domestic violence charity for assistance with a tyrannical, abusive male nonprofit director who's on a super stingy tirade to deny the poor resources while he pockets a cool $50K, pockets another cool $50K for his wife now, and they take home over $100,000 a year is what I've been told, not to mention whatever resources they're snagging from homeless donation. So when he starts calling other people thieves and that he needs to like put everybody behind bars and stuff for trying to get shoes or clothes on homeless people, it's kind of like, wow, that's how he treats his supporters. Imagine how he would treat his enemies. So I read his firearms case into YouTube yesterday. I think that's important. Susan Prettyman, oh my God, it was hilarious. She was practically dancing in front of me, and she's like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know his criminal history. I don't want. And I'm like, you're sending vulnerable people to him. He is still abusive. So anyway, so we're not going to do anything fancy. This is just patchwork. It's not like following much rules. It's just being as effective as possible. I'm trying to actually kind of put an extra knot in there to keep it strong, like in case one knot gets broken. It's not completely necessary, but it's easy to do. So instead of just looping over, go loop over and go through so that way it knots. So I vacuumed the First Baptist Church this morning. I cleaned the bathrooms with Pine Sol. Not perfectly, but better. Cleaned around the kitchen sink. Emptied the dehumidifier. And took the food out of the fridge. There was somebody died in the AA community, so there's like a huge memorial with tons of food. If anybody wants to go to the new meeting, there's tons of like turkey wraps or something like that. Boy, I sure miss vegans. So yeah, I'm a vegan, and like every time I would go to Filling Belly since like 2015 or whatever, it was like, oh, vegan food, not usually, okay? So it's not like I'm getting my belly full that much anyway. Much less getting called a predator, because even I would get kind of dirty looks for being a vegan. A lot of people they feel like we're just like Karens or like princess, like how dare you have a special diet? Or like I think we think we're better than other people. I know where these anti-vegan people are coming from. Why it's just maybe it's just irritating. Ooh, I fixed that one. So this is looking better. And what's going to be good is if I wash these, which I would like to, I don't want all the stuffing flying out from all the holes because the stuffing is just like shredding. It's just like shedding like confetti. But they're pretty nice. Thanks to the William Temple House in Portland for these awesome sleeping bags. It's one really cool place. I ran. No, there's some stuff I have to keep kind of secret. Oh, I'll go check my messages. He's texting me. I really like mending. I don't know why it's so fun. Like whenever something's ripped, I get like excited. I'm like, oh, I get to fix it. Um, okay, like I feel like this is just like enough. This is enough. So the thing that's most disturbing about Ozark's attempt to put me in jail or press charges or whatever is that the DA hates me for reporting him to K2 for failing to prosecute Chris Duffy's sexual assault. Okay? And Hansen gave a softball interview to the assailant and completely mischaracterized things because he's either incapable of investigating sexual assault or he's an inside crony, network, good old boy kind of bro kind of cop, bro-tocracy kind of cop, and or other theories such as he has a personal reason why he cannot prosecute sex crimes properly or investigate sexual crimes. So maybe he just has comprehension difficulties. So as I'm like, he's looking at me all smirky, like, because I have to interact with him. And I'm like, how can you help the homeless when homeless women need a cop they can trust about sexual assault? And you obviously can't be trusted on that issue. And he's really nice and friendly. He'll help you with all kinds of things. Like, he's very good at what he's good at. Okay, so I understand he has a utilitarian role for the police, as O'Day said about Mark Kruger, the cop with all the Nazi regalia. O'Day, did he really say that? Oh, it's just once it makes me want to cry. Could it have been that other one? Boy, what was his name? Mike Reese. Anyway, sorry if I'm misremembering. One of the two last police chiefs who are apologists for the former neo-Nazi on the police force. Anyway, were they, Nazi gear collecting weirdo. He was a Nazi. His friend outed him. He was like pro death camp and pro euthanasia and all that. So anyway, back to the bro-tocracy in Plaza County. So like Hanson all smirking at me. I'm like, there's so many reasons he could be smirking. He could be smirking because Ozark's hilariously tyrannical. It's just almost like hard to take him seriously because he's so self-important and so pompous and so constantly angry. It's just like takes so much energy to be constantly angry at the world. But I don't know if that's or if Hanson thinks like he knows what a handful I am in terms of like how smart I am and like letter writing and I'll go to city council and I'll keep blowing the whistle louder. Maybe Hanson knows like catastrophe level. This is just going to worsen the Barbara Streisand effect. So maybe that's why he thinks it's funny. But Hanson's just like, well, that's illegal. Well, that's illegal. And I'm like, no, it's a one-party state. And what his argument was that, well, Hanson for one thing wasn't there, but he was saying, well, I wasn't a part of the conversation, therefore one-party state recording doesn't apply to me. But in that my advocate is advocating for me, and I clearly was sitting there. At most, Ozark has a civil case. He could argue that his one-party cease and desist threat letter has been violated, like his commandment that I never contact him, and or he will take legal action. So I think definitely spend your life suing Ozark. That's just a genius move. You can have my $300 or whatever, and your 100K. So he's persecuting poor people with threat of police action when he really probably, I don't know, who knows what maybe his lawyer, maybe his Kirk Wintermute, his judge slash homie slash former defense attorney from back when he was a criminal, a more serious criminal, was like, yeah, like that's an illegal recording. And I'm trying to like bite my tongue that like, how long have I been recording everything in my life? How long? Bambuzer, thousands of recordings. YouTube, thousands of recordings. Pretty damn boring. And if you're like that scared, well, for one thing, say we're friends. Don't say stupid stuff on the phone. If you don't want the world to know what a tyrant you are, Ozark, correct? Don't say stupid stuff on the phone. Somebody will record you, whether or not you are in a jurisdiction where it is illegal to record a phone call or whatever. Somebody will record you anyway. Somebody will leak it anyway. So stop saying stupid stuff on the phone. And don't act like a dictator and a megalomaniac to like nice people that are just trying to do their job and advocate for their clients. And for one thing, threatening to prosecute someone who enters the domestic violence shelter out of fear of your abusiveness, and then you're being abusive to the worker at the domestic violence charity, and then you want to send police on the victim of domestic abuse that you're refusing to take seriously as you call the victim predatory, it's deny, attack, reverse victim offender, DARVO tactic. That's a deny. So he's attacking me, calling me a predator because I've reported Quinton assaulting Wayne Blair, or because I've reported Quinton assaulting Obie Babs, or because I've reported Corey Quint putting his hand around my throat. Creepy as F. Or Monkey trying to assault George, or Garth punching George, or any number of violent things. Or let's see, the chick who was going to commit suicide, and her bro was beating her, and Christian beating up on him. And Dre had a big welt on his face. He wouldn't say it was Kayla's husband, and Kayla assaulting Shayna, and Kayla's husband beating upon her, and like all the various horrible things. Or freaking Jonathan calling me every filthy name in the book when he was on his drunk rampage, trying to kick everybody at the park and turning it into a big dog pile. Like, these violent things happen with this crowd. So Kirk Wintermute being like, nothing violent ever happened. You're a crazy liar. And I'm like, okay, you're not actually helping. But if you want to live in a fantasy and everything, because that makes you feel important, guess what? You're still 2 years younger than me, Kirk Wintermute. I don't care if you're a judge. You're a man, baby. Sorry. No, I mean that in the nicest way. Like, you're my little brother. Like, I'm trying to help you grow as a human being. So you're not trauma informed if you're overriding other people's trauma. You don't have their lived experience, so you don't get to decide what happened in their life. If they have feelings, they are allowed to have their feelings. But the thing my attorney friend in California said that was so intriguing to me is, ooh, this sounds extortion. So if he has reasonable belief to know that when he's threatening to press charges against you, there was no actual crime that you committed, so he's basically leveraging a threat of a malicious false prosecution for a crime you didn't commit, and he's threatening that in order to extract something such as silence, or maybe don't sue him, or don't pursue a civil rights complaint, or don't complain to authorities. That is extortion, and coming very close to something like extortion. And I'm like, yeah, and furthermore, that's the perfect word for it. He's also extorting silence from the victims of his abusiveness because he will not give them food if they speak out. So filling empty bellies is an extortion racket. And I've often seen how the food is used as the bribe for silence. And I'm sort of mystified at how so many men could roll over and play dead for one abusive male. Because how easy would it be for, like, all the cool dudes to just be like, hey, guess what, dude? It's not cool. Here's a letter. Just like the Magna Carta. Just give him a letter, explain that his tyranny is annoying, nobody likes it, and we could do something better as a community. And cult of personality, yeah, maybe whatever he has going for that, but I don't think that's going to sustain this much abusiveness. Like, when I told some of the bros down at the river, I was like, I was kind of bragging because I'm like, I'm going to be like the first, prosecution by the soup kitchen tyrant. The soup kitchen tyrant who's like starving me for a whole solid year, no food for me. I'm like, oh, anorexia forever. Thanks, Ozark. Aren't you cool? You're like a modeling scout or something. So you won't feed me. Don't get food. No food for you. Which is like what he did to Shayna when she was like already really skinny. One of the guys who just like, and then it's almost like a mark of pride. It's a mark of distinction because, like Tim said, I have balls of steel and I'm the one who can stand up to him. And I'm like, yeah, I could leave this county because it's really backwards. I could. Plus, I got like awesome friends in California, awesome friends in Portland. I'd love to move to London. Any day of the week. Stockholm. There's many nice places I'd like to be. But while I'm living here, it's pretty good to try to hold people somewhat accountable. So my attorney friend was also like, you need to get the nonprofit bookkeeping with IRS. And I'm like, yeah. And then I was like saying to the other lady, I was like, well, it didn't used to be a for-profit thing. Nobody was taking a salary. It used to be way different. Nobody was threatening to prosecute and like making all these allegations and being so rude to everybody until a salary became a part of it. So that's dreadful. And then like for as much misery as you see all the homeless still miserable, still rain soaked, still everything they own is trash, and know that someone's just packing all that money away. It's so upsetting. I wish Aaron and Ozark would donate their salary back into the people they claim to support. I think it's just, So won't it be interesting if Aaron Carlson ever gets called accountable for luring me in with promises of a like a therapeutic mental health environment, sicking her psycho boyfriend on me, and then trying to have me prosecuted for having accountability for his sexual innuendo around the homeless and his cornering and being abusive with people. So she'll definitely get to testify. She'll definitely be subpoenaed. Should the Ozark's like witch trial against me go on? And like people are like, the DA is gonna look at this and be like, then we're gonna have to dredge up Ozark's criminal record. I have to dredge up how Aaron Carlson completely contradicted everything he said in his false conspiracy. Aaron was like, "No, I know you're not like that." So it's sort of like an open knowledge that Ozark is paranoid and psycho. So I think he's a master manipulator. It's hard to be a liar, but if you are a liar who's so delusional you believe your own lies, that makes you kind of a better liar. But one key thing when he's calling me predatory, he does this like massive throat clearing. And I looked it up. What does it mean if you're clearing your throat? Clearing your throat is something you do before you lie. So he's like, we believe her to be predatory. Like, it also makes his voice sound kind of like a lawnmower or something. It's this like gravelly death metal kind of manly kind of sound as he's it was sort of like his throat was getting up enough energy to lie. It's so hilarious, honestly. And it is hilarious, but it's massively defamatory. Like I can make a joke out of anything, no matter how dismal it is, but it's massively defamatory. And he tries to do like the character assassination on like everybody. It's just so charming. So I sent it to Amy Baker of Classic Behavioral Health, Viviana Matthews of CCA, Elizabeth Adams of the City Council. I was wondering if the city attorney would get it, kind of how it's both like hilarious and perverse. Then they want to fund this. They're going to have to hear what they're funding, I guess. And I'm still thankful that all the homeless are on Skid Row because that way they're not everywhere else. So you could like have kind of like some mental consolation that they're getting fed. Just like the Armory opened up for 2 nights and everybody thought it was open for 30 days because in your mind you want to concoct this vision of care because you don't want to come off like the total jerkish society that Classic County really is. It basically doesn't care about the poor. So I got my last molar out, my big ugly crown. And like, it's horrible not having molars, but from a cosmetic sense, I hated the way it looked. And it was horrible, and it's still in pain after like more than 2 weeks. Not pain, but it's like sore. Okay, this looks like a cigarette burn. So I mean, like funny protest. Like, and I think part of it could be that Hanson was just laughing because it's just like way too much drama with this crowd. And I already ordered the police report about the firearms burglary arrest from the start. So the police records know that I'm on to this criminal history, right? And that Ozark has turned into like this super snitch cop caller, like false prosecution guy. It's like maybe he's a little too overzealous to like find a bad guy. And meanwhile, Sergeant Litwin is like speaking to Corey about ramming his penis in my face without my permission. His flaccid penis in my face. I mean, with me, he did that, and I didn't really interpret it as a crime. I interpreted it as a crazy meth head. But I mean, I didn't think Corey Quinn's a crazy meth head too, or a fentanyl head now. But in a way, I'm just kind of completely pleased that they found the report they lost for like 4 months, and that I if you want anything done regarding the police, you have to go through the chief because he's actually smart and like good at communication skills. And I mean, so I did right. They can't. I don't think they have the time to handle all this. They have other stuff to do besides like a witch trial for Ozark's Glory and Hugo. I think it probably at most he's just hoping to like send a strong message like, don't you ever think I'm gonna bury the hatchet. I will hate you forever. No clothing donations for you. No Astoria co-op food for you. I am Ozark. Give me all the money for the homeless. I will put it in my private bank account and you can eat a moldy bagel. Like, okie dokie. I mean, long-term plan, they could get a better facility. Long-term plan, somebody might want that real estate. You can like afford to pay triple the price. They might get priced out like everyone else. Who knows? Maybe I just need to go to jail for recording Ozark being obnoxiously rude, threatening, and his kind of his normal foul-tempered self, but I really do seem to get his goat. And honestly, he shouldn't lose his cool that much. That bugs me. He should chill out. Chill out on his hatred of me. He should even just, I reported him for sexual innuendo to the homeless. He should just apologize and move on if he wants. Or as somebody who's already also had another, I would say falling out, but she just like couldn't stand his unethical practices of starving poor. So she was like, okay, I'll just buy the poor food off my food stamp card, but like, why are you doing this? Yeah. Some of the people that know what he's up to, there's evidently a universal understanding among a lot of the nonprofit, socially minded people. But I kind of feel let down. I do feel let down. I'm kind of like, you guys could be preventing this if we all rose up. I'm looking to the homeless to rise up to free themselves. But what about the people in the complicity network of nonprofit providers and former shelter workers who got basically, the one shelter worker told me I had to resign when he got too close. I even left a message for Teresa Barnes, and then one of the shelter board guy was like, "Don't just leave my name out of it, because I can't be involved with anything because I still have to kiss up to the political shenanigans." And I'm like, everyone's just so scared to have integrity. Oh boy, here's another bird. I'm sort of getting one. Okay, so the First Baptist Church is willing to have a women's center, like a women's day program, sort of something like that. And that sounds so exciting. So they basically replace where like if somebody gets like punched you or put his hand on your throat or rubbed his penis in your face or some crazy stuff like that, is down at Lifeboat, or like shot your friend up with meth or tried to beat up your boyfriend, sexually harassed you or threatened to punch your face, or any of those types of lifeboat people, like you can get away from them if you're a woman. And like, yeah, I totally get the liberal like post-gender like, can't we just be like an evolved consciousness space? And I'm like, yeah, but how quickly that gets taken over by like tyrannical bro-tocracy madmen, guys. So like women and children, or women and non-binary, because like I'm like, but I want my gay best friends to come too, and like how to have a space that is, and like how to have a space that is actually safe. That's the hard thing, is that letting these abusers constantly verbally abuse the women when they're trying to get warm, get dry, get a resource. It's just part of it's in the architecture of life actually too, because it's basically the pit is is what I call it, like the down this slippery stairs. We have to go up this spiraled staircase, like a wrapped around square thing, like to get up to the bathroom. But if you're down in the pit, anything could happen. And it's largely unsupervised because someone's always going up and down the stairs from the kitchen. It's highly inefficient. They should have turned the front room to the. It's just so horrible because it builds disability discrimination into the architecture, and the people are basically abandoned, and all kinds of like shady stuff happens because of the architecture. This is good. Well, this little sewing. It's easy. Yeah. So, anyone who thinks I'm predatory, like Ozark or Rack, we believe we're to be all predatory. I mean, like, is he speaking for Aaron when he says that? Just sort of like making me think, wow, that's not how I feel on a regular basis. Like, is that how I come off? Predatory? I mean, like, more or less, all humans are predators. Right? More or less. Speak for yourself, right? And like, it's almost like a pity he probably won't get to have me prosecuted. It's like, it would be so fun. If I can just set aside my personal squeamishness, because I was like, I'm never doing anything illegal. It's a one-party recording state in Hanson. I don't think Hanson actually knows the law, and I don't think he understands that with the advocate speaking for me in the same room as me, I am a party. Sorry. But anyway, I mean, Richard Nixon is like the hero. My dad recorded all phone calls. My family does this. We do this. I don't record all phone calls. Enough. I record them when they get dicey, basically. So get dicey with me. No, but it's like, why would I even want to be on the phone with somebody that dicey anyway? Or genius. Like I recorded David Keith Davis and he never forgave me. I was such a fangirl, like he said. Fangirl. So funny. He should be like on a talk TV show. So it occasionally gets a bit like a broken record. Don't we all? What do we need to go? Okay. Just a few. And then sometimes it gets a little too aggro. Or a perverse sense of humor. I think is what it is. Oh, should I check my phone again? So while we're talking bro-tocracy and predators, let's talk perimenopause. So I'm 45, meaning my body's slowing down, and there's a new weird pattern emerging that I've probably been in perimenopause for years and didn't even know it. Cool, man. Because I was in pretty much amenorrheic through possibly a little bit starving myself. In the like late 90s, early 2000s. And then I was also late to have a period because it's in my family or whatever. My body's so early. Need to do all that like too early. So anyway, yeah, the thing where you might have a 28-day cycle and then it starts being a 6-week cycle. It's weird. And double ovulation in one of the longer 6-week cycles, it's almost like your body forgets to menstruate. Wait, I'm on the good one. Okay, we'll do this. Oh no, that's a really big one. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the lips, it's fade away. Fresh out of cups forever. So I've got something to tell the YouTube audience. I just thought of something. Okay, I'm gonna finish this really quick up here though. Then you might need to come down and get a thread going. So I don't hear me that great. I'm not shouting. Oh, there. This quilting lady was so nice. We had the her name's Sarah Flynn. Wow, what a good quilter. That was so cool. Okay, so the four awkward experiences in the lifeboat scene. Quentin comes up to me. I kind of jump into traffic, just basically because I rather walk on the road while he's coming at me because I'm like, don't even want him up in my face. He's like, "Hey Mary, did you see about the stabbing at the shelter? Who's the real threat?" Basically, because Quentin had assaulted Dwayne like a year ago. Dwayne then went on his little stabbing thing at the shelter, and Quentin's basically justifying his brutalization of this little feeble old elderly man. Yeah, the feeble old man is like eccentric and like has some weird problems where he constantly threatens people and he mumbles and he's drunk and he carries knives. So Quentin slams him to the pavement. He rolls and he's pushing him around on the sidewalk and stuff. So Quentin's just so eager to like speak to me to explain that his assault was justified. And I'm like, that's not how justification. You can't like retroactively be justified after the person you've assaulted goes on to do something bad. But anyway, then Matt Williams was like, "Hey Mary, eat a dick," and I'm like thinking about it later as I'm trying to write his probation agent. And I'm like, in fact, this is probably about Corey Quinn rubbing his like flaccid thing towards my face, like ramming it towards my face without my permission. And no, I don't want to eat that dick. Matt Williams. So Matt Williams like apologized. He was like, I just want you to know I was having a bad day. And I was like, well, that's really, good of you to like apologize. I was like, wow, that's the difference between all these other dudes. And then, okay, so Corey Quinn calls me, he says, shut up, B word, fuck off, WHORE word, when I'm explaining, hey, don't camp under my window. That's stalkery. I've already had a problem with you, dude, so don't keep making it worse. And then Ozark is calling me hereditary. So I'm like, between, and let's just go through the other abuse. Jonathan called me the N-word, like probably the only person who's ever called me the N-word. WHORE called me, I think it C-word and B-word. I have it written down somewhere, all the things he called me. He called me a bunch of things really fast. Jules has called me the B-word. Jimmy has said he would punch me in the face. Kayla said she would beat my ass. This is what they call salt of the earth, or local. The country bumpkins of Clatsop County have quite a way of speaking to each other. So, what else? Like a broken out monkey from beating up George. Well, I just jumped in the middle of it and held George back as they basically bluffed on each other. And then same for when Garth is just punched George and like I'm holding George back, and this is back when Garth is like less stable. And then Monkey pulls out his giant dildo at the park, and I'm like, why do you travel with a giant dildo? As Zach was sexually harassing me about George, and then it was like, I mean, it was hard not to laugh, but it was practically gross and creepy and weird, and I had to tell Zach before just like, don't look at me that way. He's got like the total creeper eyes thing down pat, like he was like creepy the very first day I met him. But he didn't like pitch Jules's face out and put her nose in her jaw and stuff. And then Jules had the huge Bowie knife out at the Jonathan roll. Stood up to Bradley when he was doing his curse word-a-thon at Shayna. I like sat there and like verbally reprimanded him for every single insult he like hurled at her for like 30 minutes. And to be like, that's misogynistic. That's abuse of women. Why do you talk that way? That's verbal abuse. Don't talk that way. Why do you not respect women? Where I grew up, we respect women. And he never did it in front of me ever again. And Shayna was looking up at me like, whoa, you're strong. And like, whoa, you're defending me. And it felt so good too. Because she was like, hey, Mary, don't leave. I think he's going to beat me tonight. Griffin told me I need to shut my mouth. But then he said hi yesterday. Because I think it's like a weird thing where, you got your thing with drugs. Yeah, you have like a one-sided kind of crush that's eating you up. And somebody who doesn't love you back. But the same way. But it's I like him as a person. And it's what's kind of messed up is that like good people do bad things, bad people do good things. I don't know where it begins or ends. I saw Mark Spurlock. He was hanging with Chrissy because Zavier's in jail. And I was all like trying to share with them how hilarious the Predatory remix is with Ozark. Like, she's predatory. She's predatory. As like the it's just over the Cascade Golden Gate Bridge thing. But then Mike over Ableton down in California, Silicon Valley, he like added some like Pisces, Aries, like atmospheric to make it more predatory remix. I mean, I think we could do something different. I mean, it's fine. But I just knew instantly it was like a voice sample for an electronic music song. It was like, and I think I was actually be flattered that it's a creative musical compilation. I mean, the NSA records anything they want to anyway. So, like, get over yourself. You're not planning a terrorist activity, are you? I mean, arguably, like, putting a massive amount of drug dealers in the center of town is kind of semi-terroristic, isn't it? I mean, it's definitely hurtful to the overall security, especially if you're in on cartel stuff. Well, that chick, the nurse who was running it for the cartels, she hangs with them. I mean, she was cartel affiliated. Was in an Ozark. And, like, some people want to know if he's involved in the act of meth dealing. Who knows? Maybe he's the fentanyl super dealer. All the kids just got hooked on fentanyl. No, I don't think. I don't think he should. I hope he's not. But the whole like looking the other way for all the other dealers, there's something going on. He just. I don't think he sees anything wrong with it. It's just more like he doesn't want it to make him look bad. But he says it's low barrier, but it's not low barrier because the barrier is his big ego, and you have to be down with just like kissing his feet, which is so emasculating. Which is why part of why I was calling it the beta male center. It's like you have to be very beta. Yes, and people just leave town. It's a pass through, and I think in a way that gives them less and less responsibility if they're the monopolist of the resources, and then they have the power to essentially drive people out of town. And then 1, 2, 3. And then there's no witness. Every witness disappears. But I mean, zeitgeist-wise, yeah, like Ozark can retaliate against me for reporting Corey to them. Bo Peterson, stalking water judge. Yeah, retaliate him. Or retaliate on me for reporting you to the labor board, or reporting you to the Clubhouse International, or Disability Rights Oregon. Who else? Who else did they report you to? The county, the city, CBH. Go ahead. There's a phrase, langes something. Something my mom taught it to me. It's in German. It means like the long thread is a lazy maiden. Because you don't have the thread, but it actually causes a lot of work because you have to go through. It's more work in a different way. It's actually kind of harder because so it's kind of strange and cool about the latest twists of fortune is that just seeing the way people watch out for each other. It's kind of amazing. People help each other. It's beautiful. I mean, I sent Blair Best and the new Kayla Malos, the brand new out of college reporter for the Faley Historian. Is my I accidentally typoed that, and I was like, wait a minute, how accurate the Faley Historian. But like I don't like puns. That's pretty cheap. But I was just all like, because they basically was like jumped in the middle of the stage and was like, me, I'm gonna have all the access to the domestic violence victims with the harbor. That's a part of why the harbor needed to break through his discrimination against me, because like the whole pushing me under the rug business, then you want the limelight for helping DV survivors, but you can't even answer to the fact of being like a sexual harasser yourself, yeah, you should have contact with women. No, I don't think so. So anyway, it's not going to be comprehensible to anyone who's not aware of this super creepy dynamic. I don't know if I make it more or less complicated. It's out like that. You just have to deal with it. So what's up with my Lana Del Rey obsession? That's kind of overly intense, but like because of one thing that happens if I try to sing a song on my little like YouTubes, it causes me to memorize the lyrics a whole bunch better than if I just it like makes my brain pay attention to the lyrics, and because I'm like really trying to sing the song, and so like then huge segments of lyrics will like come to me just randomly, and I find them very funny. But what I was realizing things about her melodic structure, how she'll just have so much melodic prettiness in like one word. She does these beautiful things like trilly type stuff. But then at some point, I was like trying to learn so many of her songs that I was getting sick of them and like sick of her whole style. And then one day I was walking on the river making like a parody Lana Del Rey song about like I'm so rude, just like every cliche of whatever she's doing, sad girl stuff. Oh, and my new favorite vlogger is Mina Lee from. She's so cute. I was just like, why is she adorably pretty? Well, she's Vietnamese, and she's like headed for gold because I guess she's already working with Dior. But she's like a cultural commentator and like super hip and modern, like the way the young people have a whole different language. So I'm like, teach me all the like the cute new ways to say things, think about society and culture and whatever. Oh, and the new gay club is rad. Another reason I think Ozark can't stand me too is I'm kind of butch, and he doesn't get gay culture, and he doesn't get empowered women, and he doesn't get women that are like tougher than him, sort of like. So it's like, oh, that's a thing. It should be illegal. So in a way, it is kind of like a form of homophobia, and the fact that he let his client just like gay bash me in the hearing, basically saying that I'm bisexual and I basically say I'm promiscuous. I'm sleeping with all these men and women, which is true. Like, and even if it were, like, it's not any reason to insult somebody. But it was like the implication being that some people have less rights than others, and that because I'm bisexual or because I possibly could be having affairs with like numerous men and women, therefore it's okay for him to assault me. Fuck that. That is so creepy. Oh, I'm just like, I have to accept that Dawn McIntosh, the old lady judge, is just she's my wounded bird too. This lady is so out of date. And so, to say it nicely. Well, she's a part of the Salt of the Earth team. I need to start saying things the next week. And so I think I paid more attention to the part about guns when I was researching. I mean, what does 9mm mean? How does he know what it means? So, Garth told me he was totally or was like, was totally and who else told me that? Sheena said, it's like, oh, I already knew that. And then who else told me that? Oh, possibly. It's possible based on the stories you've been hearing. Malachi said Corey was a meth dealer. And then Bobby said Griffin's a meth dealer. I straight up asked Monkey not to ever sell meth to my friend. And Corey was like, you just think you're just too extreme. It's like, just be nice to the meth people. But Monkey works in life there now. and who's Cowan? He's like, I'm a meth trafficker from Long Beach, California. He's like, my ex died when she drank liquid meth. They were trying to, they were being raided because some rival meth dealers were like, were snitched on him, his ex and his baby, and he's like, he has a giant swastika on his leg. And Roy pops a bunch of Hitler salutes at Lifeboat and had a Hitler mustache all winter that Aaron and Ozark even put on their flyer. And then Roy was saying some like anti-Semitic Hitler stuff, and then Keith Dingman was like new to the scene, and he's all like, "Whoa, wait a minute, I'm Jewish," and I was like, "Shalom, motherfuckers," which is the Los Angeles way of saying, like, I'm Jewish as fuck, get out of my face, and like, don't come at me with your hate. But I didn't usually curse. Maybe I curse more now, but I definitely wasn't cursing then. But I just thought it might cure him up because it like cured his pain. But he said he stabbed 3 people in prison, and one day he goes to Ozark. He's like, "You should chop her in the neck." And right after I'd written that up in the letter to Aaron, I was like, that makes me uncomfortable. It's just like assuming Ozark should just go home and beat you, basically. One day I was in the park, and Keith Dingman was just like saying about somebody else, "Oh, you should chop them in the neck," and I'm all like, "Oh, so that's just how you talk to anyone about anything." Because he's pretty gnarly. One day he was like storming out of the shelter, having a fit about being treated like a baby or whatever. It was like such a bromance of a shelter this last go round because they like scared away the women, they, like chased away the women, and assaulted them away. Sausage party. Shall they shave in California? When the dyes are like discriminatory and like overabundant and like make it unsafe for women and all that. Funny used to say that and it grossed me out, and I'd be like, "Why do you say that? Ew. Ew." Can you imagine if I said that to city council? I'm like, how do I keep it refined? I think I was writing it on a paper bag. Oh man, no. That's messed up. That thread's bad. What happened there? Is that one of those self-threading needles they can pop out? Okay. So anyway, back to perimenopause. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so evidently this menopause thing can go on for, do you ever see my belly fat? I read the most charming thing about the menopausal belly fat. So like, out of nowhere, your body could just start having a different fat distribution on your belly. And belly fat holds onto and produces estrogen. So it is a body's natural compensatory way of curing the lower dipping levels of estrogen. And estrogen just generally makes you feel good. It protects your bones. It kind of like makes you feel like vitality as a woman. So your body's like, here, I'll just like store belly fat on your belly so we can just like maximize this estrogen thing. And I'm like, whoa, not cool. Because this super estrogen blogger, whatever, like, you know, a freaking menopause blogger, she's like a OBGYN who's like really good, the Galveston diet chick. I love her. She's like, you've got to exercise. You've just got to exercise and take probiotics and fiber. She's got all these like strategies to minimize the stress of menopause. And so let's just, so muffin top stuff is like supposed to hold. That's so embarrassing. I really am. Anyway, like I generally am not really that bad on my waist. Like I used to have whatever, like a 25-inch waist, and then one time I got really skinny, it was like 23-inch waist. Oh, love that. But yeah, the little muffin top thing is like there to help you. And I'm still not cool with it. And so somebody was telling me about the night sweat things where you just like get burnt over like a furnace and you're just like breaking out sweat. And then you can have nausea. You can have heavy period, like some great wave of blood that's just like way too much, like you're hemorrhaging. And then there's the slowly tapering out, like lengthening cycles. So anybody who's like following their cycle to understand if they're fertile or not, or in danger of getting pregnant or not, it's like, well, now all my math is like going out the window because mostly you're like much more fertile than you're in your 20s, but you still possibly could be fertile in your 40s. So it's like, feels like it's some luck game of like knowing your body's thing. So what I noticed is I did 2 6-week cycles, then I did 2 28 day cycles, and then I'm back on the 6 week. And there was like at least 1 or 2 double ovulations. And then I look it up because I'm like, this is crazy. And sure enough, it's a thing. And not everybody has it. It's just kind of random. And I was joking with it with my brother's lady. I was like, let's just sort of like buy one, get one free. Like the body's like last ditch to try to maybe get you pregnant. Just so you can go to the baby. And so it's kind of funny. And oh, and then like the whole, I've been talking with my friend who's like a little bit older than me about the whole like social, spiritual, political significance of being more motivated to be like kind of grandmotherly and society values and like protecting everybody and being true to the world, and not as like self-interested. That's kind of cool too. Hmm. One day at Lifeboat, I was just sitting there and I said to RJ, he's like a pretty nice guy. I mean, kind of like bourgeois, broad emo type kid. And also kind of like a rich kid, just because of the way he came up. Ah, come on, man. And I was like, wouldn't this be cool if we just called this the Anarchy Center? And he was like, yeah. And then I was also joking that when the Concerned Citizens Businesses of Facebook was like gaining a bunch of steam, I was like, well, the concerned anarchists of Astoria are like this. And then one day, I know it was like RJ wanted to call me. It was like not wanting to be in the film because like they had this thing where they're like, well, we'll just clean up the streets and then that will make everyone hate the poor of us because we won't just stand around smoking cigarettes making big messes all day. And so I had dug this umbrella out of a sewage drain that was just like a giant umbrella stuck and like it was on the somebody just jammed it into the sewer drain. It was horrible. And like it was so bad that Keith was like, no, 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 you can't get it, you can't get it. And I was like smart enough to like squish it and like get it out. And he was like, whoa, whoa, I'm sorry, I was telling you what to do and everything. But then it was like the big take a picture of it for Facebook to make like Lifeboat look good. And I took the picture, and then RJ was trying to get me in the picture, and I was like, no, I can't be in the picture because Ozark hates me. He hates me. And plus, I don't want to be, like I had already told Aaron, I don't want to be on your website. I don't want to be like spokesmodeling for all this, especially after I saw Quentin assault Dwayne Blair, because I was like, I don't stand up for and respect like brutality and violence. That's not what I stand for. So uh, RJ, he just goes something like, "Wow, Ozark." And so I might have got RJ in trouble inadvertently when I was reporting that, like, even people that work with him call him Brozark to kind of probably mock his misogynistic, like, arrogant, bro-tocracy kind of way of doing things. And who knows? Because the last I saw RJ was like maybe a week after Ozark had just like done his flamboyant, like, snooping in his partner's email, reading an email I wrote to her, and then kicking me out on their for basis of it. Um, I go to RJ. I was like, I've been kicked out. It just for being a whistleblower. It feels so great. And look, who's sweeping the street? He just put his head down, like we're kicking people out for being. Probably he had been behind the scenes of all the livid freakouts where Aaron and Ozark are just like going crazy because like it was stressful to be in here. They're always freaking out about something, and that's why I started going downstairs. And then it's actually when I started sitting next to Corey, is I felt like, well, Ozark isn't gonna have with me as bad. I feel like I got like some bros by my side. And then Corey was like, I can't even be seen talking to you because Ozark will discriminate against me. We're like, Vanessa stood up to him and just got kicked out immediately. She was like, I don't like how you run your facility. Oh, and someone I know now, who I'm not going to name, was like, I have never seen a place run so unprofessionally. And I have seen these types of places. This is the most unprofessionally run place I've ever seen. But I heard they got some new hires, and I hope my complaint actually goes to like at least try better. I mean, I hope Ozark has stopped talking about his blue balls. You would hope at bare minimum. But I don't know. Other people say he still says those things. Oh, I'm going back. I really don't want to talk. I just want to eat. Maybe I just need to take a break. I did a lot.